Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Wishblend reporting it. This is part 2 of the update for the fan-based project Evolution and EDRP Addition. I hope you're enjoying it, and please drop any comments down below and any suggestions, etc. And please follow along. There will be additional updates, as time goes on. This one is purely just to bring you all up to date on where we are at this moment in time. Enjoy. Mechanics, values and clarifications. This section is where we adjust prices and clarify certain things which were confusing in the core book or the supplements, and basically, or just things that didn't quite make sense. For example, according to the core book, in the GM section, credits are held in a well-protected bank account locked within a combination of passwords and genetic markers and intelligent purchase security systems. This implies that money in the form of credits is only available in an electronic format and needs biometrics to buy things with. In other parts of the core book, it says that the vault, we believe this refers to a bank vault, can only be opened by someone who knows the security code or has hacked the system using a hard security check. Once inside, you can find and take an item called a credit pack, which needs to have a variable value on it of how many credits are in it. This implies that you don't need biometrics to access credits. So we have two conflicting descriptions, and we can't say one credit pack is equal to one credit stored in your digital account, as the credit packs have a variable number. The solution that we have come up with is as follows. The credit packs are like currency on a data stick. To access the funds on the data stick, all you need to do is access the data with your common link. How far away you need to be is up to the GMs. To sum it all up, how are credits stored? The answer is they're stored digitally in a secure bank with biometric security or on a data stick, and can be accessed via your comm link. The question is, how many credits are stored in the data stick? The answer is it depends on how much you've transferred out from the bank. So basically, you've got a secure amount in the bank and you've transferred it onto a data stick. You're taking the data stick with you. If you get robbed and lose that data stick, you lost whatever was on that data stick. But what is in the bank is still secure. So can you steal and access one as a data stick? Yes. As I said, you can steal them. It's up to the GM's level on how and where you locate the data sticks. Some might say, you just pickpocket it out of somebody's pocket, or they might say you need to break into their ship to access it. It's down to the GM and how they want to run the adventures at a particular point in time. Okay, on to the next section is adjusted price tables. This comment over here is because we're basically work in progress things. Some of it will be updated, some of it just hasn't been removed, some hasn't been touched yet. So, as we say in this list here, commanders, they earn a lot of credits. Even a harmless pilot earns 80,000 credits per minute per mission, with the treasure income being 80,000 credits. So using prices as a single range or even less is just annoying. For example, the auto pistol, if you want to buy an auto pistol, it's 4 credits, but when you earn like 80,000 credits per mission, it's not worth it, it's tiny. So using prices in single credits range or even less was just annoying when players had to calculate down to the MCR or update the sheet for a single digit units. They had no use at all since no item with a price that low. So it could just as well be considered free. So this is what I was saying in the previous section. The MCR and the units are no longer used. We've combined it all into credits, single fixed figures. As you can see, you've got the item on the left, the old price value and the new price value. So it gives you a more realistic of earning the money to get that thing you want. I'm not going to run down each individual one because you can see it on the screen, and if you want you can just pause the video or dive into the actual Discord and get an actual copy of the project now when it's finished. But as I say, the rest of the inflation we've put in, it's not interest being took off, it's literally that with the new price. Like the plasma can, instead of being 4,000 credits, we just ramped it up to 4 million credits. Then we've got the armours and clothing, same mechanic as we've used on the other one, all the same format, calculation. You see it's coming down, got the name of the item, the old prices, and then the new prices. General equipment, exactly the same. So like here we've got some gas mask, which is 80 MRC. Well, that's less than 1 credit. So we've run it up to the 800 credits. And to make sure the price thing balances out, we've put the price up accordingly across the board, so it's still that value, it just costs a bit more to buy it, that's all. Comms and combat schemes, exactly the same. We've got a name, old price, new price, so that's all sorted out. Then we've got resting and recovering karma points. Well, recovering karma points too slow. I mean, you spend a karma point to do a task or special ability, but then you have to wait to like a new adventure to get the points back, or sleep in that if in adventure, if there's a long ongoing adventure. And we just found it was too slow. So as it says here, especially noticeable on missions or adventures spanning several sessions or every multiple weeks. Let the players really using their abilities, if at all. Most players instead went for enhancements or cybernetics. So to give players an incentive to learn and use karma abilities, the rest system has been added. So this is a totally new mechanic. So if you're tired or hungry, you basically can suffer from skill disadvantages. This mostly affects physical stats like athletics and dodge. For each condition you have a -1 on your roll. Rest is now counted if you rest for 8 hours and consume a decent meal. You regain all of your karma points and recover from being tired and hungry. If you can't satisfy both conditions, you can only recover half your karma and still suffer from whatever condition you could not satisfy. It can be satisfied later to remove the disadvantage, but you won't regain the remaining karma. You need to satisfy both at a single rest to gain the full advantage. Some food and drinks can be consumed to regain karma points without a rest, which we'll get to when we get to the food section later in the project. So it gives you more of a chance to use those special abilities knowing that you're going to rest and recover it back. For example, you're going to storm a base. You've come in, you've had to use a couple of skills to safely get down to the planet safely, and you've fought your way in through the outer the outer defences and everything, and you found yourself in a courtroom, a secure location. So If you want to basically lie low, let the heat die down before you start your next phase of the mission by getting into the actual compound where the computer servers are, where you need to access. At the moment, there's loads of guards everywhere. So by waiting the 8 hours and having a meal, you're resting and you recover all those karma points you just spent on the way in. It's going to be GM specific, but that is the way it will basically work. If you ain't got time to rest the 8 hours, you can consume some other food or drink, which is you'll get to later in the evolution project. So you're basically having like a 5-10 minute break where you've got your colleagues are basically keeping watch, just get some to eat and drink, and it rebuilds some of your karma points. Carrying on, you've got endurance checks. Endurance, usually the athletics skill is needed for all body related checks, lifting, jumping, climbing and all that. And more is all covered by athletics. It's like a big umbrella skill. But sometimes, hurt and tired, you can't usually perform such a feat with the same ease as someone in a prime condition. There are 2 ways on how you can use hit points of a player for skill checks that are affected by the fatigue or pain. Using hit points as a skill, this method can be used for checks like how much can you take before you pass out. Examples are a player with 35 out of 35 hit points would just have an endurance skill of 3. A player with 10 out of 35 hit points would have an endurance score of 1. You can then use this score on checks like who wins the drinking contest, or you can use hit points as a difficulty modifier. It can be used to increase or decrease checks based on the player's condition. So basically, if it's 0 to 9 lost hit points, then their difficulty decreases by 0. If it's between 10 and 19 lost hit points, then their difficulty raises by 1. If it's lost more than 20 to 29 hit points, then the difficulty increases by 2, and so on until basically they've hit 0 and they die, or they get medical treatment and recover some of the hit points. So with 25 lost hit points, a difficulty check-in to lift a crate with difficulty 8 would be increased to 10. That basically explains it all if you need it. The only exception would be if the player has tough or cybernetics that increase your hit points. The threshold increases too, so if someone with a tough 2, I say plus 10 HP, would reduce difficulty by 1. So, same mechanic, where basically you go 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29 and so on. It basically adds up. It's quite easy to understand. Cybernetics. I know there's a fair few cybernetic players out there. I have one in my own campaign. So all these cybernetic stuff will be for them. Or maybe new players who want to start an account up and play as a cyborg. Who knows? So cost for weapons. Though it's never mentioned anywhere in the core books, cybernetic weapons actually share the karma cost. So if you add 2 pistols to both your arms, you don't pay the karma cost twice. This can be explained by viewing the weapons as a module that allows them to use the use of them, not the weapons themselves. So each arm costs 3 karma points to replace, so 6 karma if you replace both. This by extension means that other weapons should also not cost karma again. To make it a little more balanced, there are a few rules. Cybernetic claws, guns and injectors share the cost. You only pay them once. So you paid like the 6 karma points to replace both your arms. You don't have to pay any more karma points to basically put the cybernetic claws, ejectors or guns into the arm because it's already been replaced. But you can only have one of them per arm. Breaking it down a bit more, so if you want to have the claws, they can basically go on like a wrist lock. So basically they shoot out and basically you got stabby knife type claws and up on your wrists because they have your hands. Guns, they basically slot into the forearm slot, like you point your arm up and the gun basically can pop out and shoot, or it's firmly fixed out so you walk around with the gun on your arm all the time. Injectors are basically go on the finger slot, so the old raise your finger and the needle comes out of the finger and you can stab people, inject your target with them. So just clarification is you only pay 2 karma points, then you can add several weapons to your arm. So you'd only pay 8 karma for 2 arms with 3 weapons each. So it would be a case of 6 karma for the arms and 2 karma on top of to attach a weapon. Because you're basically adding the weapons, you're basically just spending the 2 extra karma points to add the weapon, and you can add the other weapons without extra cost. Add-ons. Some cybernetics can be further enhanced with add-ons. These add-ons don't have a karma requirement on their own, as they can only enhance already existing cybernetics. Prosthesis. Class 0 or replacement cybernetics are now more advanced than prostheses and do not cost any karma. They're as good as a regular arm or class 1 and have a disadvantage on fitting checks. An arm could have a disadvantage while carrying or attacking with it. A leg when you make the athletics check, or an eye on perception. Cloned limbs. Instead of replacing a limb with a cheap class 0 cybernetic, you can hire a medical facility to regrow your limb in a vat. This is much more expensive than a class 0. To determine the price, use the price of class 0 times 1000. Growing a limb takes 1 week per 1 million credits worth. So an arm would cost 6 million credits and take 6 weeks to grow. Going below 0 is optional. Your game master may allow you to go below 0 karma without suffering severe side effects like rejection or psychosis. Each point below 0 makes you less human and gives you disadvantage to your social skills equal to twice the amount of negative points. These skills can be regained by adding more karma through leveling up or adding cybernetic affinity, using medicine, or replacing them with class 0 cybernetics. Upgrading. When you upgrade a cybernetic, for example, type 2 to type 3, you don't need to pay the full price, you only pay the difference. Which is a good thing, because if you basically already got a cybernetic arm, you don't need the whole arm, you just need the upgrade for the next powers. Okay, on to pips for defense. This will be like moving away from the cybernetics. In the core book rolls, you get a tick to your score when you use it, which means when a dice roll, you only get any offense skill. This means that any offense skill gets a tick when it's used in combat. Since defensive skills are passive and not rolled in combat, they'll not get a tick here. So we decided to sort that out. So in personal combat, offensive skills will be energy weapons, kinetic weapons, heavy weapons, melee weapons or fighting stroke grenades. Where defense is classed as dodge and parry. So every time you parry or dodge, as well as all the other items, you put a tick on it to help grow it. In spaceship and vehicle combat, again, you got spaceship weapons and vehicle weapons for defense, and special piloting and vehicle piloting for defence. To balance the tick distribution out a bit and make the defensive skills less of a must roll and level up, the following rule can be used. When a player successfully avoids an attack, a pip can be added to the respective skill. So, for example, if you're in a spaceship and you manage to evade an attack, that's a tick for spaceship piloting. If you're fighting somebody on a planet and you basically parry an attack or dodge an attack, again you tick the dodge or parry. So that will go up during the adventure. Well, when you add them together at the end of the adventure, but you'll understand what I mean. And that brings us to a close of part 2 of the update. Again, there's 13 parts in total in update 1, so please, I hope you enjoy watching them, getting what information we've got, and stay with us in the long term. Laters.